Hello and welcome to another Power Pack conversation right here on ET Auto. We're coming to you from Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025. Joining me now is Himanshu Singh Raghuvanshi. He's the founder and COO, Capgrid. Himanshu, welcome. Pleasure to have you today. So Himanshu, just to kind of get kick-started, this is a massive, really international level expo, of course, that we are all part of. Can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration behind being part of an expo like this? And what do you think are really some of the key benefits that people, companies like yourselves could get out of it?
Sure. So Capgrid is a consolidator of component manufacturing. So this event is very, very relevant for us. Especially because we operate in the automotive component industry. I was mentioning the other day that this is a kumbh for everybody who is associated with the automotive industry, wherein all the like-minded companies come together, showcase their capabilities, have a knowledge sharing amongst each other. So it's very, very relevant, and I think this edition wherein we have the entire mobility as a spectrum that has come together, that really helps companies like us.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, needless to say, India is booming in a very large way when it comes to auto manufacturing. How do you see this panning out in the coming years? And where do you think really India stands today on an international level as well? In this
so just to give you a data point, India has 35 cars per 1,000 people. Right. UK has 800, US has 980. Yes. So there is a lot of room to cover. There is a lot of potential in the industry, both from the demand side and the supply side. As I said, 34 to 800 or 980 journey is India is on that journey, yes. And so from the demand side, it has huge potential. From the supply side as well, I think we've spent the last good 2-3 decades in building capabilities, not just for the domestic markets, but for the export markets as well. And this is very evident in the exports that have risen over the last decade or so. Yes. So I think India has a huge potential both on the demand side and the supply side.
Absolutely. And how do you see India's role evolving again on a global platform, not only when it comes to auto manufacturing, but also innovation, right? Because ultimately, again, at this expo today, innovation is really at the heart of what we are seeing on ground. So where do you think India stands in this perspective?
True. I think the manufacturing innovation is something that we've seen in the last decade or so. It's the technology innovation as a next step that we need to take. I'll give you a very small example. When iPhone X started, when China started manufacturing iPhone X, the total contribution to the Chinese economy was 3%. In 10 years' time, it rose to 25%. Because they had the manufacturing innovation to manufacture an iPhone back in 2010. But they took another decade to move forward on the technology innovation side, and that is where India is on that path right now. And I feel in the next 5 to 10 years, we should also be focusing more on the technology innovation, both in terms of the innovation that we are seeing in the automotive space, whether it may be the hybrids or the electric vehicles, or the semiconductor space which actually go into a vehicle. So I think these are the two points on the technology front that India should be focusing on. On the automotive front, in general, technology innovation is what is the need of the hour.
And here at the expo, again, some of the key pillars, but in the industry in general, of course, we're talking about sustainability, electrification, digitization. How do you see players really keeping up with it's not really a trend, but the forward, the future plan, but also keeping up on a global level?
True. I think we are at a very sweet spot because across the world, if you leave a couple of companies aside, the true innovation is yet to happen. I mean, if we exclude the BYDs of the world and the Teslas of the world, true innovation in the mobility space is happening at the moment. Yes. You look at the Ubers of the world, the Googles of the world, they are coming up with driverless vehicles, yes. And they are not automotive companies per se. So technology is going to be the main factor behind this transition. And we are at a very sweet spot because everybody is at the same level at this moment. So whoever focuses on the key technology levers in the 5-10 years time frame, I think is going to take the lead, and India is very well poised. If you look at the key technologies surrounding the electric vehicle or the sustainability space, there are a lot of Indian players who are ready to break free on a global scale. So there is a lot of innovation happening. We just need to speed it up in order to to take on the world in the next decade.
Yes, yes, absolutely. There's also a lot of government support happening here, right? Especially when it comes to EV electrification. There's a big push, in fact, from the government towards manufacturers. Do you think manufacturers are keeping up with the expectations?
See, the key USP of manufacturers is manufacturing expertise, right? And if you look at the OEMs, their key USP is design, R&D and innovation. So on the demand side, I mean, the demand would always be there for the electric vehicles. The government has come up with a lot of initiatives, FAME being one, phased manufacturing scheme being the other. So I think the push that is required from in terms of the schemes and the policies, it is there. The larger responsibility also lies with the global powerhouses in the automotive industries, because if you look at 50, 60 years back, the likes of the Tatas, the Marutis, Mahindras and Ashok Leylands, they truly built the supplier ecosystem. So the government has a role in terms of policy making. These bigger powerhouses in the automotive industry have a role to innovate more and handhold the suppliers a little bit, so that the ecosystem evolves at the same level. If there is a mismatch in demand and supply, there will be global players who will be taking the advantage. So if we have to truly make use of this time, we need to focus both on the supply and the demand.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Himanshu, for all these insights. Before we close, are there any trends in particular that you are foreseeing or forecasting when it comes to the Indian auto manufacturing space?
I think two trends primarily. As I said, there is huge room to cover in the domestic markets, and that is happening. We are becoming more competitive in terms of, as an automotive industry in general, we are becoming more competitive as the scale is kicking in. The purchasing power of the people is increasing. We were 23 cars, if I'm not wrong, 3 years back per 1,000 people. We've gone up to 35 in 3 years' time. So it clearly states that the demand side is really ready. The first is, of course, the domestic market demand. The second, I think, is in terms of exports. If you look at the geopolitics going around, I think India is at a very sweet spot. Post-COVID, we heard a term called China +1. I think this is the next big wave that India should be looking to capture completely, with everything going around in the US and all the tariff wars going on globally. I think India has been diplomatically in a very good spot for players like us, or the Indian automotive industry in general, to capitalize on it. So I think these are the two trends that we should be focusing on in the near future.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all your insights and being here with us today on ET Auto.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.